Well, now we turn our attention to dating after the age of 50. Our next guest has created a guide, 1 + 1 is greater than 2, to help those who are interested in exploring online dating options. We welcome Christiane Hile to Virginia this morning. It's great to see you.
Thank you, Jessica. I'm delighted to be here.
We were having a really interesting conversation before we got started. This is now third chapter for you, no pun intended.
Right, it is. I was an attorney for 8 years in Canada, and then I switched to software marketing in California. And now I'm an author. I actually left my job to write this book.
Both of those previous facets come together here in the book, and you've created this online guide. I think, why, how, and how did this all get started?
Yeah, a good question. So in relation to my background, I think that women over 50 are a little confused about what to do when they're back in the dating scene, and that goes for men as well, especially if they've been in long-time marriages or have recently lost a spouse suddenly. So they're out there and they're wondering, well, how are they going to meet that right fit partner next? And so I wanted to write a step-by-step guide to help them understand at least the lay of the landscape. And that kind of ties back to my background, not only as an attorney where I was helping people who didn't have voices, but also significantly in software marketing, where I just am a huge advocate of the power of the internet or the power of numbers. And numbers can make it so much easier in your romantic realm.
So how do we apply the number theory then? Are you talking about like a volume of dates, or how does this apply?
The underpinning concept is that about 39% of couples are now meeting online. The web just offers you access and exposure to so many more people. And when you're in midlife, you have certain tastes and values and goals that you'd like to align to. They're not always available in your local supermarket, at church, or in the communities where you're active. If you go online, you have a much greater chance of connecting with somebody who could be a great fit for the rest of your life.
So the numbers mean that you have a greater number of opportunities to potentially meet that right fit.
Right.
And this isn't necessarily finding your true love partner. You said that most people have already achieved that, maybe.
Right. Well, I think most people feel like they've had at least one true love. And my personal philosophy is there isn't necessarily one person for your whole life. If you have found somebody, you're very lucky. But many of us have lost, like I have. I lost my husband when I was 48. So I think there are more loves out there for you. And the internet is a great place on which you can pursue that. I also think that you shouldn't stop looking offline either. Just because you're on a dating app doesn't mean you shouldn't tell your friends that you're single and you'd like to be introduced to eligible partners if they know of any.
So we have less than a minute to go, but if we think of it in terms of having online access, a greater number, and then staying offline as well and being open to that, what's the next tip or guiding force?
My biggest tip is to push to the phone when you're using a dating app and get offline. So use the internet to connect with somebody, but then push to the phone to find out if they really are who they say they are, and to validate that they're going to meet the criteria that you're looking for, and then push to an in-person meeting. And I always say, if somebody can't meet you in about 10 days, that might not be a legitimate prospect. Move on. Once you do meet them in person, I have another philosophy around dating them at least 3 times. You don't tell them that you're going to date them 3 times, but if they ask you out again and again, just make a point of doing it, because not everyone shines on the first date.
This is true. We can be a little nervous.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Thank you so much for the great insight. Congratulations on the book.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you for being with us. Thanks to all of our guests for being with us today. We'll see you again right here at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning for more Virginia This Morning. Until then, have a terrific Monday.